Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And this is a pretty interesting story, isn't it? This is the new CEO of CNN. I think it's Chris Licht. I've been saying Chris Licht.
I think
but
funnier.
Licht is funnier. But Chris Licht says, uninformed vitriol, especially from the left, has been stunning in regards to news, in regards to CNN. And we know CNN has been a colossal failure. They've been laying people off. They've been trying to move to center, supposedly. Now, he's saying that's not the case, but he said he's floored at how much bias is in mainstream media.
I'll just say when you sent this to me, my mouth literally fell open. I was like, oh my gosh, basically what we've been saying.
Yeah.
He just said it. I was like, holy yeah.
And look, there is bias across the board, different media outlets. That's
Obviously,
really
yes.
always been the case. But
it's been magnified extensively the last several years. 6
to 8 years. Again,
yeah.
Certain event that happened in 2016 seemed to have definitely split the country. And certain people already had the megaphone in the media and the social media and all of that, so the voices were amplified. We're gonna talk about this. Got you the hat tip here to Rodrigo, who tagged me in on it. I missed this. It's actually coming from the New York Times. This is, now, they didn't call this out. They're just basically doing a story on him and how hard it's been to try to turn CNN around. And we know that CNN's not doing well. They've been canceling shows, firing people.
CNN has gone so far off the rails. And it's been and which he actually admits, it's been about people, their own personal biases, presenting them as news, which we've been saying. You could argue the same probably for things like, Newsmax or something like that.
Right.
You can argue that. So we're seeing it in the media for sure, that different people take a different political bent, and then sometimes they try to form stories about confirmation bias more than it's about the truth.
The reality, though, and this is what we're finding out the hard way too, sometimes, is that people just want confirmation. They don't. Right. They don't want the news. They don't want the facts. They want facts that support their opinions.
We can make, and by facts and quotes too, we can make a lot more money and have a lot more subscribers if we would just do that ourselves. But we don't. We don't.
So we're gonna talk about this again. CNN used to at one point in time be considered one of the most reliable news outlets out there. It was just the news 24/7, and then it became basically another MSNBC, which this guy was involved in, by the way.
Yes.
And he's even saying that the left has gone too far.
Yeah, and then we have people like journalists even saying that you'll know the news when we tell you what it is.
Pretty much.
I mean, that's not your job. Your job is to actually do your work and give us what's going on, not your opinion on it and your spin.
Now, irony in all this. This is the Washington Post.
I know, right?
CNN makes massive staff cuts as news industry prepares for a dark winter. And this is before their own cuts were announced. They're like, oh, it sucks to be them. Anyway, let's talk about. Anyway, let's talk about this before we get into it any further. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, rants, guys. Almost 283,000 subs. YouTube's up to shenanigans again, so make sure you hit the subscribe button. Lots of people telling us they're not getting notifications, they're not getting subscribed. We're not going to tolerate that, are we? We're a reputable news outlet.
No, they're not.
They're trying to suppress our voices.
It's just us because we don't toe the line either way.
Anyway, so this is coming from Just the News, taking again from the New York Times. Light says uninformed vitriol, especially from the left, has been stunning.
I know. I was like, what?
That the fact that he said that is stunning, because this is a guy who worked on the Colbert Show. This is a guy who got Morning Joe off the ground at MSNBC. This guy is a left-winger. Gosh, it's almost like so many people that identified as left-wingers just a couple of years ago kind of disenfranchised with where everything's gone, and some of them look like right-wingers now, even though they're not.
Yeah,
we wouldn't know anything about that, would we?
Right, not ever, no.
Light said he does not want to move the network to the center, but wants to teach the audience how to think.
Well, maybe you should start with teaching your journalists how to think.
Yeah, right. Whoever's left. So Chris Licht, who's been the CEO of CNN since February, said he's surprised by the amount of uninformed vitriol from liberals as he's looking to change the network's direction. The uninformed vitriol, especially from the left, has been stunning. He said in a series of interviews with the New York Times, which proves my point. So much of what passes for news is name-calling, half-truths, and desperation.
Oh, yeah.
Holy hell.
Well, look at what we've seen just in the last couple years on Twitter. I mean, we had, there's all kinds of questions coming up about the last election because of things that were hidden. Then we had the whole COVID vaccine thing where if you questioned anything, it was misinformation and you were getting booted off.
Well, okay, so about that, right? I mean, even Saturday Night Live filmed in New York City, had a sketch making fun of the fact that you weren't even allowed to question the vaccine or the lockdowns or any of it. And they were like, and it was hilarious. The sketch was hilarious, but I'm like, how the hell did they get away with that on Saturday Night Live?
Yeah, so even they noticed it was ridiculous.
Like it was getting to the point of just being like, what the hell is going on? So speaking of, she's like the poster child for everything that's wrong. Right there she is.
Lawrence.
Yeah. Light having taken over for fired CEO Jeff Zucker, and Light shedding some of the cable news network's on-air talent has been perceived as a sign CNN has moved so far to the left that it's losing viewers. What? No. What's going on? And it's the same thing we're seeing across the board with all these news outlets, even the pop culture ones, right? They spent so many years mining Trump outrage, calling everybody alt-right Nazis, the point where we said before, apparently there are more Nazis in current year America than there were in Germany in 1942.
And I've argued before how vile it is just to label people that way and use such a term and make it mean nothing.
Yeah.
Because that was like, I had people who, I had family members who cleaned out the concentration camps, and that was like the worst thing you could call somebody ever, because they actually were there and lived it. So you just completely took a word that meant something and made it mean nothing. But you know what? Back to his comment about not going back to center, people to think that's center. The people that are calling out the bullshit all the way around and being like, wait, are usually the people in, leaning center, leaning left, or center, leaning right, but in the center, they're like, wait, that doesn't make sense. So making people think and not just following the narrative would be center.
Yeah.
So,
he said CNN's new direction will be not to tell people what to think but how to think, giving the audience a blueprint for how to make decisions. Wasn't that kind of training people to make decisions a certain way?
Well, that could actually be bad too, depending if it's an actual valid blueprint and not a skewed one.
We're gonna push the same opinions. We're just gonna make it look a little better.
It'll look like you have a choice.
We'll give you the illusion. I know. Honestly, I think there are. But he said that the center is boring, and he said that it's a boring.
The center sees that you're full of shit.
He considered it a boring neutral zone. He was unsure it even existed. I think anymore. I mean, and they've said before, 80% of America is fed up with the 10% of extremists on both sides. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, the 10% on both sides are the ones with the loudest voices, but the left, their voice is amplified because they already had control of all of the media outlets and all of the social media outlets. So they seem that very loud 10% seem disproportionately larger than they actually are.
And then I think too, you have to remember, like I said before, you have moderates who are the center, some leaning left, some leaning right, and we would have called ourselves more Democrat. Somebody else might have called themselves more Republican, but they have all been shoved into the middle by the extremes going further out. So when they go further out, if you're anything left or right of that, you're shoved to the middle.
Yeah.
So the majority of people lie in the middle. So in that boring zone that he's talking about, it was boring. That's where you're going to find most people calling this shit out.
Well, it's the Jam Brady syndrome, right? We're all Jam Brady. Marsha. Cindy. It's everybody is paying attention to the extremists because they scream the loudest, but everybody else in the middle is just like, God, I'm so sick of
this. And the ones
stuff.
calling it out are the ones in the middle.
Yeah, but what's going on though is a lot of times the people in the middle aren't just, calling it out, and sometimes they are, but they're quietly leaving. So what you're seeing...
because they're like, I'm sick of it.
Yeah, so they might not be, because they don't have the platform that these other people have, because their voices aren't extreme enough. So what they do is they're just like, I'm just not watching this anymore. I'm not going to this movie anymore. I'm not watching this TV show anymore. I'm not watching
news or outlets. They're going to go find one that tries to stay fair.
Yeah.
Or they feel does their due diligence, and they're going to stick with them.
Yeah. And it seems like the Times is interesting. The Times ran this because they're in this shit right now too, for being biased. And
I know.
And now they've got this union negotiation coming up, and I think we're going to see a lot more news outlets pivot, or at least give the appearance of pivoting to center to save their asses. because they're losing viewers, they're hemorrhaging viewers, or hemorrhaging ad money.
Instead of confirmation bias, we need to go back to the truth.
Just be like,
And
here are the facts.
it might not align with what you think, but the truth's the truth. And trying to spin it to make it look more like palatable to you or you people you think are your friends isn't helping anyone, because no one can think or make fair choices because they aren't given the correct information, unskewed information to begin with.
So yeah, Light, who launched MSNBC's Morning Joe and a reboot of CBS This Morning, has also shaken up CNN's lineup since taking over the company by moving the left-leaning Don Lemon, that's an understatement, from a primetime slot to an early morning show with former Daily Caller reporter. See, I haven't been paying attention to this. Former Daily Caller reporter and CNN White House correspondent Caitlin Collins. I'm sure that goes over really well. Yeah, I think they're trying to pull people away from Fox, and it's not working. Like, they did this morning show, and it was like the lowest rated thing on TV. They're like, nobody watched it. They don't care. And he's getting prodded by David Zaslav. You know, via memo, I'm sure, like, you need to make this perform. And what else are you going to do? Because if you look at the numbers, again, I'm a numbers guy. I like numbers. You look at the numbers, you're like, well, 80%, that's if we got 10% over here watching, Newsmax, and the other 10% over here watching, MSNBC or whatever, we got this other 80% that we can market to. Why aren't we doing that? But then you do that, and it's like nobody cares. I think you've already shot your credibility, and it's like, whatever.
I mean, yeah, you have. It's gonna be a process. It's gonna take a while to win people back.
Yeah, it is. But I mean, back to that pendulum swing. I mean, we're seeing it all over. We're seeing entertainment walk it back. We're seeing news outlets walk it back. And again, at the end of the day, money is the motivator. The lack of money. When people realize that, like, look, we can't just push whatever we want to push because we don't have the luxury of having, all this venture capital or this endless amount of ad revenue anymore. Now we actually have to get results, and we actually have to keep our audience. You're going to see things change pretty damn quick. So, gonna wrap it up?
Yep.
Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. We'll talk later.
Bye.